Welcome, everyone, to the official debate section.
This debate is being conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Cleveland Clinic.
All right, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Incendiary. And boy, what an incendiary topic do we have for you this week. But before we get to that, let's be polite and everything and say hey to our guest. So Oz is with us to talk about Everlasting Survivors, the Second Chance campaign. And, you know, I thought it was a perfect match then for what we're going to be talking about, because I'm sure that Second Chance campaigns are going to be mentioned. So thanks for being here, Oz. How you doing?
I'm all right. A little tired, but good. I appreciate you having me. And I actually learned after I wrote that it's a Second Chance campaign that I guess that's strictly considered like for successes. And so I renamed it Relaunch Campaign after somebody told me that I was named inaccurately originally.
I'm not so sure about that, Oz. Jake, thanks for being here. What do you think? Is this accurately a second chance if it didn't fund the first time around?
I believe that second chances are usually associated with the first attempts that are not met with such high-flying colors, but it is remained to be seen. We have a whole debate ready for that.
Okay, yep, we'll get to that. Fanta, thank you for being here. What do you think about that question?
Well, hi, thank you. Nice to meet you, Oz. I think when I think second chance, I think it's for the backers. It's for the people that didn't have the opportunity to get the project the first time. So the creators are giving those people a second chance.
I like that. That's a good way of looking at it. Very positive.
And I look for those. Yeah, I look for those in campaigns because I'm a newbie to the whole scene. And so I'm like, if I'm interested in something and it's like on issue 4, I'm like, oh, but I need issues 1 through 3. And when they put it up as a tier, it's like, awesome. So then you have the chance to get it and get caught up.
Catch-up tiers are great.
Yeah.
I've had to use that a few times.
Yeah.
So I've been showing their comments, but we want to say hi and thank you for being here to DG Comics. Says he made it. And Paul Bird of AGE Comics. Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here, Paul. We appreciate it. And let's see. Oh, welcome to the fun fee. That's right. Bionic Bra on panel and in the chat. All right. So we're going to go with this panel. And so that means I get to set us up. And here's what we're going to talk about. Now, the banner said, at what point does crowdfunding become greed? Well, that's not a yes or no question. So we've really got to think about it and pose it to Oz like this. Do you think there is a point at which somebody who is crowdfunding is doing so out of greed? And what we do is we give you the opportunity to first pick what side you're going to be on and then pick your ally.
So my first impulse is to quote Wall Street and by proxy Ted DiBiase and say greed is good, just because it feels fun. But it's a bit disingenuous because, you know, there are limits, there are things that are wrong and bad, and so I can't just. It's complicated. That's the problem.
Oh, this is going to be a complicated debate. You bet.
But for the sake of argument, I will go with the team greed, if that's even an option, I guess.
Okay, so you're saying that there isn't a point at which crowdfunding is greed. You're going to say that it's okay no matter what.
Well, can I ask a question before I?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Is the exception of a lying, cheating, no good person who's not actually doing the right thing out of the question, right? This is, you're doing the right thing. You're getting the person what you say you'll get, but you're just trying to get all the money in the world, right? But you're still.
Yes. We are not talking about the scammers and the schemers that don't ever send you a book. That is completely, that is wrong. We can all agree with that.
Yeah. I don't want to take that side. That's not a team I'm for.
No, this is purely about the greed side of thing, getting dirty paws on some dirty money.
So you're saying that there isn't a point at which crowdfunding is greed. It's all okay to do. Okay.
Theoretically, I guess.
All right. Well, so it'll be tough to debate. Okay. So Bionic Bra, what now must he do?
All right. Since you have taken the stance of greed is good, you have 3 people to choose from to be on your team to help you pretty much convince the rest of us that that is true.
So he gets one ally.
Yes, he gets one ally. Then the last 2 remaining will be his opponents. And we'll just mediate each other at this point.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Good call.
Bionic, I guess.
Okay.
All right, good. I was actually ready to go on either side of this one.
All right. So I'm actually on the side I was hoping for.
Oh, here we go.
Fanta, you need to back me up because you're on the side of there are instances where crowdfunding is greedy. Okay.
Oof. Okay.
You still with us, Fanta? Okay. All right.
I do think we do need to put up a disclaimer just in case before we get this thing going.
All right. So Jake needs this. Oz, this is for your benefit. So you understand that we don't always debate the side we actually agree with.
My favorite part of the show.
Yeah, Jake is often on this side where he's like, "Oh man, I actually don't agree." Anyway, we're getting good at this. We are getting good at this.
I had a short-lived channel regular called Comic Court where me and friends would take opposing sides, and a third friend would pick the winner. But oftentimes we would both see each other's perspective. We just couldn't say it until there was a winner picked, and then we'd be like, "Yeah,
that's right." Yeah.
Point the whole time.
Yeah, we often have issues like that. Let's see where. Well, there's this one for Jake sometimes.
You fight almost as well as a man.
Funny, I was going to say the same thing about you.
So am I Esmeralda in that situation, or am I?
No, dude, you're the other guy.
Oh,
We might actually have a debate this week. This could be cool.
Okay, so as the sort of temporary mediator for a moment here, Oz, we're going to ask you to go first. Defend your side. Why is it that crowdfunding is not greedy?
Given the concept that the person who launched the campaign has a product that that they are trying to convince you that they want, and if you back them, then they've done it successfully. Then the more people who support, the more money that is put into the campaign. But when it gets to a large number, right? Because a number that I've never seen, because mine are always low.
Not always, just so far.
So far, that's what I mean. Yeah, the 2 I've had are not exorbitant, but that's okay. What I was getting at is that if you are a great communicator and can convey your ideas, and like, oh my goodness, there's some people that I've seen produce commercials for their products. Now, granted, they're mostly just their own art moving, but like the art, I was like, man, you've really sold me on this. Generally speaking, I go to crowdfunding for comics, graphic novels, whatever. So I'm sure there are other things that are being sold on there. It's just they haven't ever really caught my interest. So that's why when I speak about the product, it tends to be about graphic novels and comic books.
Yeah, that's what the show is mostly about. But if you want to mention other things like movies, short films, whatever, that's okay.
Absolutely. I just didn't want it to seem as though I was excluding them. It's just those aren't really what I go there for, really.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay.
And I would love for somebody to convince me, but the handful of teasers I've seen for TV shows just weren't. They weren't the quality that I would expect from TV,
okay,
or even internet products. And so that's why I tend not to speak on that subject and talk more about the art. But my point was that if the salesperson, the creator, is skillful enough to convince a large swath of folks to come to them, I don't see how that them choosing to give their money, because it's not like that they get the money any other way, can be wrong. That's the struggle I'm having.
Okay. All right. So, Fanta, with your permission, I'd like to go first on our side. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. Let's say, for example, you are a first-time creator and you go to crowdfunding because you really don't have the money to put this together. And that's true for a lot of us. Creating a comic book is a very expensive endeavor. So as someone who is hashtag just a writer, I need to hire an artist, a colorist, a letterer, and an editor. So I'm paying a lot of money per page. Now, we talked about this a few weeks ago where people who are the writer and artist have a little bit of an advantage, not only because they can set their own pace, but because there's a whole step there they don't have to even pay for. Someone like Mike Bancroft, I'll give him a shout out. He's the artist, the writer, the artist, the colorist, and I think maybe at one time he had Eric Weathers on his team, but I think he fired Eric. Anyway, it's a long running joke, something about that. So he does have an advantage in that regard, but that doesn't mean that it's cheap. There's still a lot of expenses there. Sounds like I'm arguing against myself, but stick with me here for a minute. So that first time creator needs the crowdfund. All right. So now let's say that first time creator raises 70 grand. All right. It could happen. Fanta, could you go on mute for a sec while you're having a conversation? So
She's gone now. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It was distracting me. I was losing my train. So they make 70 grand on that first book, and they crowdfund volume 2. All right. So didn't the 70 grand recoup your cost for the first book and pay for volume 2? It really seems like crowdfunding again might be unnecessary. So what I'm saying here is maybe after the first one, if you do very, very well, now you just need to put up maybe a web page with a store where the person is perhaps buying your book, but not backing its production. And, if it's a 48-page book that they are backing to pay for its production, $25 makes sense because you're not just paying for the comic. You're helping the creator create the comic book. And there's a lot more than just the book that you're backing. But once you've made your coin to cover your costs and the next 1 or 2 books, at that point, crowdfunding again, I think could be greed. Jake, what do you think?
Supply and demand. That's all I can say. Is if you have a product that somebody wants and they want to get it, it doesn't matter to me how it comes about. It just needs to be done for the customer. But at the same time, we'll go at that train of thought with fully funded, making 70 grand for your campaign. So that should all go back into your company. That's what it's for. It's for your brand to grow. And if that many people put that much into you and what you supplied them, then I don't see a problem with doing another crowdfunding campaign to alleviate the cost of another project. Because let's say that you're separating the costs for each different project. Like maybe that 70 grand only went to that title. Maybe it's to continue that title. What about another title that you want to bring out to fruition? Do you take from that fund, or do you start another fund, and do backers start helping you with that?
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way. When I was saying volume 2, I was thinking like when I did Siamese on that one, I broke even. But had I made 70 grand, would Siamese 2 be greedy if I crowdfunded again? But I see what you're saying. So let's say Dojo-kun Chronicles is coming out. Does the money from Siamese 1 go to Dojo-kun Chronicles, or does it go to? I see what you're saying. I see you put your hand up there, Oz. You've got a point to add to Jake's.
Well, it's to the concept of a new project, right? I can understand where you're coming from. Don't get me wrong. I understand where you're coming from. Is it greed? Could it be greed? Yes. But I can also see how that it would be undercutting yourself by stepping away from the place where people found you.
Oh, okay.
And I could see I could understand the fear or the trepidation of thinking, okay, I had success here, and yes, there is the option of launching a storefront, right? But if all of the customers go to one store, which is the place where you made your money, and that's where they go to shop to find the product, and they're used to that, then I could understand the fear of stepping away from that way.
Yeah, it's like somebody who's been shopping at Walmart their whole life, and suddenly they have to start going to Publix. I can see how it can be like an out-of-body experience.
What do you think, Fanta? Help me out here. These guys are beating me up.
Well, I'm going to take it from a point that I've heard people conversate about, and it's from the backer and the creator's point of view of, if you've already put your campaign out there and you've made your goal and you've gone through this, I'm just using Indiegogo as a example.
Okay.
You've gone through your first 30, your second 30 in demand, and you've stopped it, waited a few months, and then brought it back. You're kind of cutting into the pool of backers, because backers want to back as many as they can, the projects that they like. But you have somebody that's already done their campaign, it's off to print, they've made their money, they've shut the campaign down and thought, well, let's go again to make more money. And from a backer's point of view and a creator's point of view, I think that they feel that, like, well, this is our first chance. So when you bring that back, you're cutting into the pool of backers, and there's not enough to go around. So give us our chance.
Yeah,
and take the money you made and work on your next one.
Agreed. There have been some creators, and I'm not going to call anyone out by name because I can't afford to make enemies.
Oh, we're so incendiary.
That's true. We are incendiary. I think that people will know who I'm talking about, though, when I say this.
Sure.
And that is, I have seen particularly one big creator, but a couple who haven't even fulfilled the campaign they just closed yet. And they're not only launching another, but maybe a second or third one before they've fulfilled the campaign they closed 4 campaigns ago. I stopped backing that person, even though I had every confidence that they were going to create a great product.
Do you have a timestamp for us?
I can tell you about what year it all started.
Too much.
But yeah, so with these creators that are making, and this one in particular was in the 6 figures range. When they don't fulfill and they start launching 2, 3, 4 more campaigns, come on, that is just, I think, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it, it's greed personified. I think that is not right. You need to fulfill your promises. I would much rather have a late book than see that person's working on 2, 3, 4 other projects. It's like, hey, how about finish this one first? Then, because your focus is so diversified and you're distracted. And trust me, as a creator, as a writer, I'm writing this and I think, oh, this would be cool and this would be cool. But I don't start writing those yet. I just write them down and set them aside because I'm trying to focus on the thing that people have already backed me for.
Right.
Now, like I said, I don't want to sound hypocritical here because after all, Siamese funded, and then I fulfilled it. I had 2 failed campaigns, and now I've got another one that funded. So I don't want to sound hypocritical. After all, I've got another campaign here. The first one, however, broke even. In fact, I even lost a few dollars because of the postage. At that time, postage was just increasing at a crazy rate. And I think it caught us all off guard. When I had to send a package, for example, to Australia, it was $45 to send the package. And I had, I think, 5 or 6 backers from Australia. God bless them. I loved that they were there. And I wasn't going to suddenly, hit them up and say, oh, by the way, shipping isn't the $25 I asked you for. It's $45, because it's not their fault, right? So I had to eat that.
hit.
Yeah.
I had the same realization when I had a backer from Indonesia and one from Madrid, Spain, because what the price that I put on there for shipping just completely fell to the wayside. I was like, well, this is basically thanks for being there.
Exactly.
To Fanta's point about dipping your toe in the pool more than once and getting in the way of other creators and backers being able to fund them. Again, the disclaimer's up, so I'm allowed to be this kind of guy. But boo-hoo.
We'll be the judge of that.
I have a product that somebody obviously wants more than the other. And that is not my fault that's not on me to keep it from anybody. That is on other creators to have something to sell.
Yes. So that's why this bar keeps getting raised. Not only because we've got a slew of industry professionals who are coming in here with a long history of fans, comic book knowledge, although they are also coming into it not necessarily as publishers. Some of them are realizing, hey, you know what? I can write and or draw this stuff to kick everyone's ass, but shit, I had no idea what it takes to print these things and to post these things and to package these things. And it's like, holy crap, this is a lot more work than I thought it would be. I'm sure some of the industry pros are experiencing that.
Let's see some of the stuff that the chat's saying.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So here, DG Comics was saying, if you can validate why you're asking $25 for a graphic novel, then I don't see it as greed. That's a good point. Some people say if the book is good enough, it is worth $25 to me. And I'm going to say that I stopped collecting nearly all of the mainstream. The only, the one character I still collect is She-Hulk. And honestly, I don't know why I still am, because the book is crap. It's just, I can't bring myself to stop after all these years. I have over 2,400 appearances of She-Hulk, every appearance she's ever had. So for me to stop now would be, I don't know. It's not the collector's gene. So
we are here for you if you ever need an intervention.
Right. So you guys are, look at him, look at the collector over there. So
I got on the other side of the camera too, but it's fine.
So taking advantage of a limited market with very little competition and charging more than it's worth is greed.
Yes, I agree with that. But that a lot of the indie creators, we have an understanding with each other that's kind of unspoken that, these things are going to be more expensive than what you're going to be getting off of a rack at an LCS.
Yes.
So with that in mind, when I made that last comment, it kind of hurt me too, because I'm in that same boat where I get, other people having their stuff funded because their stuff's more popular. It's something that people want to see and stuff like that. Plus, they're one of the big wigs that, everybody knows about who are from the mainstream. So, they've got all those things going for them, which makes it harder, but it makes it that more of a challenge that you should strive to try and, overcome. But let's see. When it comes to crowdfunding, is it greed? I don't see it being greedy until you stop delivering.
And that sort of ties into this comment from DG Comics. If you are not fulfilling to your patrons / backers, then opening any other campaigns can be construed as being greedy. It's definitely going.
Yeah, I can agree. I can agree with you guys on that one. If you start another campaign and you haven't fulfilled the last one, and it's taken a lot longer than it should have by anybody's, means, yeah, then I'm going to start having questions being thrown at you. But if it just comes to project open, fulfilled, project open, fulfilled, I don't care how much money you make. I just want to know that you're going to continue making prints of those for when you should and actually do open up your own shop. People are able to get them.
Good point.
For people going to Indiegogo to start and fulfill, that's fine. You're going to Kickstarter because there are new backers that probably haven't seen your project because, as we all know, before everybody started having issues with Indiegogo, they were very loyal to this
platform.
Platform. And as soon as they stopped having that kind of success and being shadow banned, they went straight to Kickstarter to meet the needs that were needed. So,
and bringing up Kickstarter is a good point in this discussion because a lot of folks for a long time said, absolutely not, I will never use Kickstarter. For a long time, they had a political message on their homepage.
I know somebody who was very adamant about it, and he's a big time, like, he likes to talk. He
still won't, I think, go to Kickstarter.
I call bullshit. It'll happen. It'll happen.
It remains to be seen. But yeah, so I was also of the mind that I would never go to Kickstarter again because of not just the political statement, but because how they were ousting people in the comic group that I belong to. So, but the thing is, we're trying to reach a wider audience. And yes, as DG Comics said, we've got a limited market with little competition, and it's difficult to reach new people when you just stay to the one platform. A lot of folks have been streaming lately saying, you're leaving money on the table if you don't put it into Kickstarter, where there are, I think, on the order of 6 to 10-fold the number of people visiting Kickstarter each day over the number of people visiting Indiegogo. So
I think you're selling me on starting a Kickstarter.
What's that?
I think you're selling me on starting a Kickstarter.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Full transparency, I'm going to take my current campaign, Projectile Reptile, to Kickstarter, but I'm first going to fulfill.
So for years, I don't know if it was because of listening to people talk, or like you said, the homepage of the website, but I had thought, oh, this is probably not the place to be. But I don't know. Like you said, 6 to 10 times more people seeing success happen, and given the fact that twice over, first time around, I didn't reach my goal. I set it too high. It's completely my fault, by the way. I didn't have an online presence. I didn't get in contact with people to make the pitch. I just had some stupid illusion that, hey, the product exists, so people will want it. Because that's how I look at things. I click the thing, I look at it, I check it out, I see something I like, boom, I buy it. But I realized that a lot of the success comes from the relationship, or it felt that way at least.
Yeah, the community.
The community, exactly, because I'm that way with professional wrestling. So I've met wrestlers that I like, and writers too, lots of people. If I meet them, they're good to me, then I'm going to want to keep partaking in their product. Like I said, whether it's a wrestler, an actor, a writer, anything. An artist, for instance, Ben Templesmith. When I first saw his art, I wasn't sold. And then I met him, and he was the sweetest dude. He was super laid back, like just drawing at this con. And I'm like, man, this guy's cool. I liked his art more because I liked him as a person. And so that realization that kicked in with me is what made me start my YouTube channel, Mr. Super Oz. But anyway, that's off the topic. The topic is convince me at least give it a shot or reconsider.
See, the thing is, because of the community, because of the the eyes on our projects, that getting to know the creators creates, that makes a big difference too. And I'm going to use that as a segue to bring in Blue Samurai Zero, because Blue has been in this community for quite a long time, and I'll bet he's got something to say about that as well.
He's just calling me old. That's all. How you,
Hi, Blue.
how you
Hey,
doing?
Lou.
Hello, Oz.
Hello.
So we meet again, Jake.
How you doing, Blue?
Fine. Can
Ooh.
you move me over? Can you sign?
Yeah.
Thank you.
There we go. Good.
I can
feel like
smell
I can
diapers
stretch
on
now.
there. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Nice timing, but now I lost track of why you brought me in.
Well, there's two things. Number one, we're going to want your opinion on this greed versus not greed. But in particular, we're talking about going to the other platforms and how I think we all agree it's no longer considered greedy to open up to the other platforms because we need to reach as many eyes as possible. And there was a time where this community like eschewed Kickstarter for a number of reasons, but I think we're sort of beginning to forgive them. What do you think?
Yes. Oh, yes. Very well. Very much so. They are a lot more quiet about their politics insofar as this community can see, and that was why that matters is because that was the initial reason why they were eschewed in the first place. So I don't think their politics have changed, but how they handle them and how they treat people has. So all right, we give them some forgiveness. As far as just doing business and wanting, like in any business, you want the biggest audience you can. People buy Super Bowl commercials for a reason, as if the Super Bowl mattered anymore. So working on multiple platforms, we've got 3 and maybe 4. You could go to Crowdfunder, you go to Fund My Comic, Kickstarter, Indiegogo. Excuse me. Oh boy, I haven't talked in hours. So anyway, so between all those platforms, if you want to get as many eyes as you can, you just have to be careful not to set your minimum goal too high on one platform that you lose it. Like if you set your goal too high on Kickstarter and you're going to make your budget because of all the platforms, but now you lose Kickstarter because you set your goal wrong, well, that's that's just a management thing. But as far as greed itself goes, trying to sell your book in the first place, if you want to provide your book and it's going to cost and you want to make a profit so you can keep providing, we're still on the safe side of greed there. That you're not really engaging in avarice or anything like that either. But where greed comes in is if you start trying to short things or you misunderstand the market. Maybe I want to say misunderstand to give my example I might give in a couple minutes. A little bit of forgiveness and leeway. But I think we have moved beyond the reasons why Kickstarter was taboo, and now if you've got a platform that you're welcome to use it.
Right. Now, I want to bring up DG Comics' latest comment here. Different topic. The introduction of these businesses with their politics to attack and silence users hurts the industry. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm going to get to the rest of your comment in just a second here. I contend that shadow banning violates the FTC Act. Now, there are a few people who jumped on me in Bancroft's chat when I said that, and I actually posted the section of that act that I feel that is germane, and that is that suppresses commerce. So they say we don't have to advertise, we don't have to support your project, we just have to allow you to put it here. And actually, they don't have to do that even. But what I'm saying is, they say we'll allow you to do that. We don't have to promote you. But by making my book non-searchable, and by the way, Oz, I'm also shadow banned in case you didn't know that.
I didn't. If you but it sounded this way.
Yeah, if you can't search for my book and you can't stumble across my book, then Indiegogo becomes a very limited source of backers for me, because now only people who have my specific URL will be able to even find it. Now, does that mean the onus is on me to get on 80 different shows? Yes, actually it still does. When I did Siamese, 80 shows. So that means I was trying to get as many eyes on my project as possible. But shadow ban means there's not going to be somebody who stumbles across it. And I think that's suppressing commerce. Now, to the rest of DG Comics' comment, I'm glad to see the new platforms like Fund My Comic have popped up. Yes, Luke Stone is doing very well over there. The ease of use with his crowdfunding platform is amazing. He's picked several of the best, I'll say, features of Indiegogo and Kickstarter and combined them. Now, my comic did not fund on Fund My Comic, but I think that's because people who wanted to back it already had on Indiegogo. So
Right.
what I need to do is find more
A new audience.
audience. Yes, exactly. Jake's got it. Exactly. I see that Felix Haas has joined us, the Link Master. Hey, I don't think I have wrenched the Link Master. I need to get over there and wrench.
I have a wrench and I still don't know how to do a damn thing.
I feel like
Felix.
he does have a wrench. Awesome. Okay, cool. Felix needs to have a wrench. He is the Link Master. Okay. So Blue, I'm not actually sure if you just brought us all back to center or if you had an absolute distinct, yeah, it's greedy or no, it's not.
Well, there's a forum for greed in it, but it doesn't have to be. So it's one of these false. By the way, Oz, welcome to the false bifurcation debate show.
Wait a second, we even have a sounder.
I attribute all the wins that have been had on this channel to the fact that we usually debate false bifurcation fallacies as opposed to straightforward yes nos. Like
There you go.
Hi, Felix. It can be abused. Or now I'm going to put some words in somebody's mouth here, and that would be, if I can find it, Chad Larson. Chad Larson ran the Death Shroud campaign.
Okay.
Now, the words, so I'm going to act out in two ways. Word went around about Comicsgate that you could get $25 plus shipping for your comic book. And so he put out Death Shroud, which was a floppy. I think it's 22 pages. It's not less. It's not fewer than 20. It's not more than 24. I could scan the page in front of me real quick. So there were people who wanted to really jump on that. That would be a greedy attitude. So notice I'm putting motives in his mouth. I've never heard him speak about this.
Okay.
On the other hand, that could also be just misunderstanding. Oh, it's 22 pages. Yeah, that could be just totally misunderstanding because it was detractors of Comicsgate who were saying that they're selling comic books, and these detractors would mischaracterize it as floppies for being $25 for that. And this was way long ago, like when I was on Bancroft's channel, and there was some discussion about how long books should be. Very early on, it settled on 48, and I pushed a bit for what I could to say 48 pages in color, and that's pages. I'm sorry, 48 pages of story in color, so no extras, no sketchbook material, nothing like that. Backup stories count as stories, but page break pinups to separate the two don't. And that so 48 in color would be $25. And I've seen people kind of shave on that, or they can't quite make the 48, or I really don't like people stretching. I'm not going to say decompress, but stretching their story over the pages unnecessarily by taking what could be 4 panels on one page and making it 4 full page single pages in a row. That's cheating. So anyway, I did a stream about that with Liam a little ways back about how I tried to bleed it into how stories should properly be paced, and we didn't get to finish the topic because he had to go, instead of stretching your story over the pages. So you can get there is a forum for greed there. And of course, before I totally accuse Mr. Larson of greed, I do want to say maybe he just misunderstood, and I don't know. Now, that's not a strike against the customers who want to buy it, because that's their choice. If they want to pay that much for whatever the book is,
absolutely. Then it's not nefarious action. I will say for sure that the reason I didn't back the book is because I thought that the count and the price was a little out of balance.
Mm-hmm.
But I took the time to figure out what it was, and I was like, I'll check back. And but yeah, no, I agree with your assessment that there is a proper structure to things, or there ought to be at least. And if you're not adhering to what people understand to be the norm, then, and they still choose to back you in that way, then that's their choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Now, Jake made a point a little ways back about, you make a profit on book A, and book A volume 2 maybe is where you put that profit, but book B is its own project. Now, having said all that, we are in this business not just to make comics because we love them, but we'd like to make money. Let's be honest. If Yeah, if we could make money, some of us would love to replace our day job. I do like my job, but heck, I'd much rather be doing comics full time. That's no secret. So,
That's everybody on the panel, brother.
That's right. Yeah, you betcha. So, I heard that there is a successful creator who, after her comic did very, very well, she went out and bought herself a car. And it's like, there's no shame in that whatsoever. I mean, she put out a project that everybody seemed to like. They backed in droves. And I don't see that as being greedy. I'll be honest with you. It sounds like I'm arguing against myself, but she needed a car. She made a good profit on her book. Good for her, in my opinion.
I can look at it this way, kind of. Does having that vehicle help it to not hinder her activities to either her hobby or her side projects? If it allows her to continue working and allowing her work ethic to take place, I don't think that's really say like a consolation prize or whatever.
Now, had she gone out and bought a $70,000 vehicle, then that would almost be like being grandiose about it, or
right.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Like Ethan, he went and bought a like an Amazon truck or something for himself, so he could go out and do the actual distribution himself for Cyberfrog. I believe that's what he bought the truck for.
See, that is reinvesting the profits in the business.
Right. Absolutely.
Yep.
That's a world that I love to imagine on a regular basis.
Yeah, I'd love to have to buy a warehouse like he did. That would be something else. We are coming up on quarter to the hour. So what I'd like to do now is bring up Oz's campaign, and we'll talk about why all of us should help him buy his next car. Because after all, we're all going to want to back this. So let's share screen. Hang on, sorry. Somebody talk. I got to boomer through this.
So I'll gladly talk. I have physical copies of Everlasting Survivors Volume 1 all day long. They were locally printed. I mean, not that necessarily matters, but I just think it's kind of cool that that the printer lives, within a close distance to where I live. I just thought that was fun. I found the printer. Oh, sorry. What was that? Go ahead.
I said on Earth. He's on Earth.
So he lives down by a Racino, and I call the comic company Gamble Comics for funsies. Well, because as I like to say that I bet on myself and I'm taking this chance, and I'd like for you to take a chance on Gamble Comics and Everlasting Survivors, Volume 1 all day long. So the book took far too many years than I'd like to admit to produce, but it's because I had this delusion about 8 years ago that I could do this myself. And every time I would try to draw the pages myself, I would always get frustrated, toss them in the trash. My wife left and said, "Oh, you're a hopeless loser. You'll never accomplish anything." And life got pretty hard. So I had to pick up a couple of extra jobs to keep the bills up. And one morning I got off from working a night shift at a gas station. Some friends were like, "Hey, we're going to Cincinnati Comic Expo. You want to come?" I was like, "Yeah, I ain't got nothing to do." And so I rode up with them, and I met the primary artist on of the book, Jeff Hicks, at Cincinnati Comic Expo in 2014. I say that The Rock is the reason we're friends because he had a drawing of The Rock along with the Green Power Ranger and a bunch of other stuff. But I make the joke that The Rock's the reason we're friends because I saw him have drawings of wrestlers, and I told him that I had this idea where I had a trio of heroes, and one of them was a professional wrestler on his as his day job. And so the more I talked to him about this idea, the more he was intrigued, and he also liked that I kept making jokes about how not great my life was going at the time. And so he gave me his business card. I wish I had my wallet on me because I pull it out, I stab it out, I stab it to this day. It's in really rough shape. when we meet up next, I'll have to get a new one just to replace the dang thing. But after saving back a little bit of money, we met up again 4 months later. I gave him 10 pages just as a general test. Not that I didn't already know that I liked his art, but just as a see how we work together. And the 10 pages worked out nicely, and he wanted more art to do, but I didn't have the money to pay for it. He was willing to do art without getting paid, but because of my time working as a professional wrestler and having too many hot dogs and handshakes and we'll get you next time, kid, I told him I didn't want to be that kind of partner where I said, oh yeah, here's the work to do, but no money for the work that you've done. And so it took a while for the 53 pages that he did to get done, because I was always saving back money. And then when I'd give him the number of pages that I could afford to purchase at the time. And anyway, throughout this process, he became, I don't know, semi-successful, relatively successful. He launched his own internet or YouTube channel, World Class Bullshitters. He had his own campaigns and things that were successful in and of their own right. Thus, I needed to find a new artist. That's the reason when you scroll down, you'll see that there is a different art style on 15 of the pages. They're not all 15 are up, but there are 15 pages in a different art style. And the reason being is this is the alternative art style. These pages were done by a second artist. His name is Nick Crook. So I have videos on my channel, Mr. Super Oz, that chronicle this journey throughout. But it's funny. I had not quite given up, but I definitely thought that it was less likely the book would be finished until I met Nick. I saw his art, and I had asked him. So we met at a call center. I was doing security, and he was answering phones, but his cubicle was layered with art. Some of them were very dynamic, like the pages he did, but the ones that really caught my eye were his drawings of his coworkers just looking away and out the window. And it was just like, this guy's got an eye for catching things that you might have you might easily miss. And so with that connection, I got the final 15 pages, and the book is a 68-page graphic novel. The asking price is $20. It's got a beautiful spine, which I love because I like having it on the bookshelf behind me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have one of each of the cover A and cover B on the bookshelf just for funsies. I also have them framed up behind me. I have not yet printed these new covers. This is Jeff's cover C, and this is the new ongoing artist Febri Ferdinand's cover E. The reason that Febri will be the artist going forward is because obviously Jeff, like I said, with his success in with the channel World Class Bullshitters, he stepped away. But after the first campaign closed, Nick, I was excited. Yeah, it didn't get the funding that I wanted, but I was still excited. I was like, okay, well, I think the first campaign had 80 some backers. I don't know, 70, 80, something like that. And I was like, okay, well, I'm still excited. So the day after, something like that, when it closed down, I met up with Nick and I said, oh man, here's what I got in mind going forward. And just the look on his face told me, oh, you're done. And when I said that to him, he was like, yeah. He said, working on this project helped me realize I can do things I've always wanted to do that were in his own head. And so from that point forward, he's been focusing on his own indie projects that he will write and draw and color himself. And so,
you know what, though, one of the things you said recently is that you've got Hicks and Crooks, and now that makes these tiers make sense to me. Yes. So you've got a pair of Hicks right here and a pair of Crooks right here.
That is both covers of the artists. So both artists did an original cover and then a new cover for the relaunch. Okay. So yeah, that's why it is a pair of Hicks and a pair of Crooks, because it's named after the artists.
Right. Like I said, now that makes perfect sense. So you've got a hat and a T-shirt available.
Oh yeah, I'm
So-
actually wearing the hat and the T-shirt. I tend to wear them on streams that I'm on for the first time because I got the prototypes, if you will, done up just to see what the quality would be like personally before I was to try and get a large amount to ship out.
Right. So in addition to that, you've got, so this you said is the new artist then, right? This.
Correct. Yes. So Fabri Ferdinand, he was gifted to me, not legitimately, but like he was a Jeff got us in contact. He's actually the majority colorist throughout the book. I don't know. Him and Gustavo are probably one of them's got the majority. I don't know which one, but he did a lot of the colors, right?
So
And
what I suggest, if you don't mind, Oz, is
absolutely.
to grab one of these pictures, this artwork here, and
Yes.
drop it somewhere in the campaign so I can see it closer than just this tier. So
Yes,
as I'm going through the page, I don't see that graphic, and I think
You're
that would
correct.
help sell.
Oh yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I I really should have done that.
Oh, and Jeff's art as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I honestly, all the covers are very well, at least in my opinion. I'm not trying to be overly bombastic, but I think that they pop, especially Jeff's new C cover. I think that it has great visuals going on, and
I like the action, the motion on Jeff's cover. I've
Thank
seen
you.
you hold it up, and
Yeah.
we've got this small view of it here, but I had a chance to look at it too when I watched the video. Now the video, I'm not going to hit play on this because it's 6 minutes long by itself.
right,
But
and I don't love it.
You did all right.
So every time I do this, which granted it's only been 2, but each time I do it, I figure out, okay, keep this, put that trash, or do this better. Yeah. So so this isn't over my first video because I was too apprehensive to even do the voiceover. A friend of mine did the voiceover on the original video because I wasn't a public face to anything. I was just a person who wrote a story that I liked. And when that failed to garner an audience, that's when I decided to come from behind the keyboard and actually converse with people.
We get to see behind the curtain, huh?
Exactly.
So this one here, this panel with this, I guess it's a mansion or a museum or something. This is incredibly detailed. I love this. I mean, the brickwork on that alone had to have taken forever. That's an awesome panel right there. Great job on that. Whoever.
So this is Jeff's art right here.
Okay.
When you're looking at and anything of this style.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So he's a very. It's good to work with him. Is my point. We had and not had as though we don't still speak. Like I just talked to him. I think yesterday. It was either yesterday or this morning. I forget now which. But regardless, my point is it's we have a good rapport, and so I just explained how that Reese Shaw, he had gone from being a stunt man to a leading man when he garnered superpowers, and I said that the trio's hanging out at his mansion, and that's what I got when I because I didn't say, hey, I need all the best brickwork. No, I just said, hey, they're
Right.
and he's like, I got you. So
his art style, he knows when to put detail into a panel, it seems, and he also knows when detail is unimportant. And I'm looking at this page here, and I see that, the background here, there's a person watching television, there's the stairway. So this panel is detailed, but the 2 above it, no detail whatsoever. And that's okay because he's framing it with panels that have detail. Artists that know when and when not to put detail in there are important because if they overdo the detail, it'll take them much longer to draw the page. And sometimes, pacing matters.
Absolutely.
So this is a good artist to have. I have to say, kudos for that.
Hey,
Yeah.
Dojo, can you make your browser window that has the campaign in it narrower left to right? Because that
Narrower.
might make it taller on the display for us. Can you change your window size for the one you're sharing?
Can I do that?
There we go. That's better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, I noticed the backgrounds too were sparse in a lot of areas of the books, but we still got the information we needed to know that we're in a bank, and then from there the scene goes on. And we don't need all the details all over again,
Right.
etc.
Yes. Yeah, it's such a fun process. Like I'll be honest, even though I didn't get the financial success I wanted, the fun of learning, the labels and the packaging and the shipping and getting that relationship with people. And yeah, I love making comics, which is partially why that I just want it to be my regular job, or like my go-to thing. Like I would love if this was what I could always.
They say do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Have you worked in radio?
Actually, I have.
It sounded believable.
Oh, thank you. All right, so we are coming up to the top of the hour. And we do have a couple other things to mention. First and foremost of which is I want to thank my panel for being here. I mean, after all, this is a valuable time. I know, Blue, you're sandwiching this in between other priorities, and we appreciate you making the time to be here. Fanta, let's talk about what you do for a second, Fanta. We'll get back to you, Blue. Don't think I'm dropping out. But
Okay.
Fanta, we were talking before the show about the videos that you're making about campaigns. You're talking about making one for Everlasting Survivors. So tell us where we can find those videos.
Well, you can find my videos on my channel, which is Phantasmagorical, Phantasmigorical. I tweet them. I try to tag the people, the creators, so that they'll get an alert that it's on YouTube or Twitter. But as Oz said, he loves making comics, and I know you all do too.
Mm-hmm.
I love making these little videos. They're not professional by any means. It's screenshots and screen recordings, but I enjoy it. I love to try and support people. So my channel's not huge. I'm pushing towards 600 subs now, but and some videos get way more play than others, but I just feel like I should try to help get as many eyes on the projects as possible. And I just go through and I find them on Twitter. I'll see somebody share a campaign and I'll go, oh, that looks interesting. I'll make a video. I'll find them like that. And as you said before, we were talking about the one I'm making for Oz. I was working on it and then I had to stop. So it will have the link to this show in the description, and I'll link your channel, Dojo, so maybe we can get you some more eyes too.
Excellent. Yeah, we all help each other by lifting each other up. Just Call Me Hen, in fact, is doing so in the chat, saying that Fanta is very passionate. Yeah, she's right. They're not super polished videos, but I think you've got an authenticity, and you're genuine in your appreciation of the work that goes into the campaign. So I love the fact that you're supporting people. Absolutely. Blue, let's come back to you. Where can we find you?
Oh, at the moment, I'm Blue Samurai Zero on Twitter and on YouTube. I am trying to move to Rumble. The try part is right now I have Rumble and YouTube synchronizing, where I put it on YouTube, it shows up on Rumble. I wanted things to go the other way so that I can post pre-recorded videos on Rumble first, and then I also happen to do some live streams like this one. But if I live stream, it has to go to YouTube first until I start paying like $25 a month for StreamYard to stream to Rumble. So, my channel does not make me any money, so oh well, that'll have to be a while. But yeah, that's where you can find me, is those two things, and occasionally on this stream here. And what else? Oh yeah, I do try to do book reviews, and I am really struggling to keep my life organized, which is why no book reviews have come out in so long, other than my Monday night live stream. So there's that.
Yes, and you know what, Fanta? We neglected to mention the other stream that you're on a monthly basis.
Uncorked? Yes.
Yeah, Uncorked. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. You were saying in the chat, the last one, I'm learning a lot about my co-host right now, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, those chats and the show Uncorked once a month, the first Friday of every month
Mhm.
on
Yep.
Good Stuff Comic Skaters channel.
Yes.
Mrs. Good Stuff is the host, and
Yep.
things get a little racy over there, but that's part of the fun.
It's Mrs. Good Stuff, Flying Feline, Lola Meets, Amanda B, and myself. We have a lot of fun.
It's the XY chromosome show. Jake, where can we find you, sir?
You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at my tags as Bionic Bruh or Tail End Studio. Both accounts are on both platforms. And you can also find me here with you guys every Wednesday. Or if you're in Nashville, you can see me on the street corner trying to turn tricks for extra cash for comics. So there you go.
That's how we met.
Oh, man.
We're
Turning
coworkers.
into
What are you
Uncorked.
thinking?
Yeah, Blue,
abort.
I wasn't going to ask any detail, Blue, but thanks for clearing that up.
I felt
All
I'm
right.
close enough to you guys.
Hey Oz, before we
Oz.
bail, because he's about to cut us off, would you say that Everlasting Survivors was a passion project?
What's the definition of a passion project? Something you won't give up on?
Well, there's a labor of love kind of thing too. You know, that sort of vein.
Oh, so yeah, I definitely know that I put myself into multiple characters, or like I can see myself in multiple characters. There's so many pieces of the story as it unfolds, not just here but in future installments, where that it's meaningful to me. And yes, so I don't know the precise definition, but like I said, it's something I don't want to give up on. It's something that I believe has the ability to live beyond me, and that's why I want as many people as possible to read it, because I've never had somebody say that they read the book and they hate it. Actually, I've always had the opposite response, where they're like, "Hey, I read your book and I like it," and that always means the world to me. And so
Yeah, it is a fun read. I'll give it that much. And you know, it needs a little polishing up and some improvement here and there. We won't get into it, but I could as I remember reading it a few weeks ago, I was going, yeah, you know, I look back on it quite happily. I'm glad I read it, even though, you know, at the time it was just like, okay, so what's next? What's next? What's, you know, etc. And then I finished it. I'm like, huh, there was something cool at the end there, you know. So yeah, I think you did a nice job.
I'll be honest, I didn't even realize that you had the book.
Yeah, I do.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really here just to try and get freebies out of Jake, but you know.
So I'll be honest, having me on a show is a quick, easy way to get the book.
Anyway, but thank you for answering the question. But yeah, I could see there's a labor of love in there too.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, you know, I don't want to neglect the chat. I want to say thank you very much to those of you who are with us live. We appreciate your time. Felix, you've just been, you know, hitting it hard with the links. Really appreciate all the times you called out the links for the channels and the comics and all that. You're a great asset. And for those of you who watch on the replay later, we know that there's an awful lot of streams going on right now. So we thank you for coming back to watch Incendiary. And we hope you'll be with us next week on Incendiary. We're going to have another rousing debate, and we'll see you then.